You are now tuned into the Black Law Students Association of Canada's YouTube.
So how are you both doing today? How are you enjoying conference so far?
Conference has been great. It's a wonderful experience to be up here in Quebec City and have a chance to see a city that I've never seen before. And we've had a lot of great speakers and a lot of great events and a lot of great networking opportunities. That's been completely unbelievable. It's great.
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience. You get a chance to bond with your colleagues. Like, you end up becoming friends after this weekend. If before you were, sort of isolated, really studying and, trying to figure out what to do about school, conference is like a time to support each other, but also just become friends and bond. So that's been a great experience. But it's been cold in Quebec, Quebec City.
Very cool. Okay, so which law school do you both attend, and how did you choose to attend the law school you're attending right now?
So the law school that we attend is Osgoode Hall Law School. To be honest, not a lot of thought went into the choosing of the law school itself. What had happened was Osgoode provides an income contingent loan program. So this is a program for low-income prospective law students to attend a law school without having to worry about tuition. And the way it works is that tuition is covered largely by a grant, with the remaining portions being subject to a loan that Osgoode gives out that is, upon graduation, is forgivable depending on how much you make after you law school. So it was really the only opportunity for me to actually attend law school was through this program, and joining this program has helped me afford the career that I want.
So I also go to Osgoode Hall Law School, and I think a huge part of my decision in applying was looking at the opportunities for experiential learning. So not just doing your courses, but joining clinics. I'm really interested in intellectual property, and they have a huge IP community that's unlike any other at the other law schools in Ontario. But also the strength of the Black law student community there. Osgoode Hall has the largest chapter, and I think that's been the community has been foundational in my success so far. And I've really found my support system in that group. So I'm really happy it worked out this way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, since you both are speaking about your initial beginnings at the law school, what were your first impressions when you walked through the door? And is there something that no one knows or underestimates about Osgoode?
So my first impressions was just overall intimidation. It was very scary to walk into those halls and meet all these really incredible people who have done so many great things and are so deeply passionate about so many different things. So for early on, it was hard not to feel a bit of the imposter syndrome, where you felt like you didn't really belong. This wasn't really your, this wasn't like you weren't supposed to be here. But I think one of the things that people don't really understand about the school, or kind of gets glossed over, is the collegiality. So it's very easy to find a group of friends who will support you, who will be there for you when the stressors of law school come knocking, because they will. But the collegiality and how friendly the people were. And I think often Toronto law schools get this reputation of being hyper competitive, or especially with York being a commuter school and Osgoode being sort of difficult for people to get to and from because it's so far out from the core of the city. So I don't think people really understand how collegial it is, and that's something that surprised me.
Absolutely. I had a similar experience to Mahir, just walking in and experiencing that imposter syndrome, meeting all these amazing professors, like even the administration at Osgoode, and hearing about all the amazing things they've done, and just thinking, maybe I don't belong here. But other than the collegiality and finding that support group, which was a lot easier than I thought it would be, I think something that's underrated, or something that people may not realize about the Osgoode community, is that they're also really humble. So you're meeting like these people who've done amazing things, but they all, at least in my experience, have been concerned with helping you succeed. And there's never, focus on the things they've done or the things they've accomplished, but how they can help you get further. And that's been my experience so far, and it's not something I expected, nor something that people really shared with me. So it's definitely underrated.
Awesome. We're gonna move into now a few questions for prospective students. So you both were a prospective student at one point. So what was probably one tip that you heard and applied and it helped you get into Osgoode?
you want to take this?
Yeah, I'll start. So, so I think probably the most difficult thing I did for the application process was the LSAT. And so one tip that I got for the application process was to take some sort of prep course beforehand. So there's so many companies that do it. I ended up doing a Kaplan course, and I found that really helped. And they're also like, I guess I was really lucky to have a lot of students in my network that had done those courses before, had materials, and they sent it to me as well. So just tapping into that network and being able to draw on those resources really helped me prepare. And I didn't think I'd ever need to do a course or something like that to study to get into law school, but it was actually really helpful. And I learned best by like sitting in a classroom and going through the material. So that was really helpful, and I think that helped me make a competitive application package.
Yeah, the LSAT was definitely a difficult thing for me too as well. And I know, and I actually didn't do very well on my LSAT at all. So let that be a note that you don't always have to do very well on your LSAT to get into law school. But I know one of the most important pieces of advice that I got was in terms of developing a personal statement. So I thought when you kind of sit down with your personal statement, it's hard to think about how you want to portray yourself. What are the words that you want to come out of your mouth so that administrators and admission committees can see who you are. And I thought the best piece of advice that I got was know why you want to go to law school. You don't need to know what you want to study. You don't need to know where you want to work. You don't need to know what kind of field that you really want to apply your practice in, but you should know why you're going to law school. So, and have that come through in your personal statement. So make sure that people know that this is your purpose for applying and this is what you want to achieve with your JD degree. And having that come across clearly, articulately, and sincerely is very important.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I guess my other question would be, when you were applying for law school, right? You alluded to the LSAT. You mentioned the personal statement process. I wanted to know if there was something you wish you could have applied and you've learned since 2L, because you both are in 2L right now, right? That you wish you would have applied as a prospective student that probably would have made your application that much better or made you feel that much more comfortable. What would it have been?
It's a good question.
If you don't mind me starting, I'll say that I guess the first year and a half of law school has taught me that there's no perfect standard that students can achieve, and I think maybe along with some of the misconceptions we had going in, like being intimidated, having the imposter syndrome, I just thought that law students had to achieve this perfect standard, I need to still be getting A's or achieving this really high standard that it seems the industry has set. I don't know if it's in the media or just something we have as a misconception. So I think maybe just even retaking the LSAT to get an even higher score to ensure that my application was more competitive, or just realizing that you don't have to spend all these hours and to your own detriment or without taking care of yourself during the application process. I think I would have just taken it easy on myself and reminded myself that I don't need to be perfect. The application doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't all have to be done really well on the first try. You can learn from any errors you make or feedback that a school may give you that didn't accept you at first. So I definitely would have been easier on myself and taken care of myself a lot more.
Yeah, I think just to echo on what you were saying, I think one of the most important things you can do is start early. When you're coming up to that November deadline or October deadline, and you're stressing out, you're over reading every single word that you've done, you're trying to remember every single thing you ever did in your undergrad and what you've done outside of school and you've done in community work and things like that. But the earlier you start, the more opportunities you do have to remind yourself, and you're not stressed out coming towards the end of the time, and you're not really confused about what you need to be putting into your applications, because and you've been working on it for months, and by the time the deadline comes, you'll be ready.
Awesome. My final question for you both is, what does it mean to be a member of the Black Law Students Association of Canada? And possibly even what prompted you to join the BLSA chapter at your school? So probably you can flip it around. So what prompted you to join the BLSA chapter at your school? And what does it mean to be a part of the Black Law Students Association of Canada as a whole?
first. So, like I mentioned, when I walked through those Osgoode doors for the very first time, I felt overwhelmed, and I felt like I didn't belong, and I felt like everyone else had accomplished so much in their life, and I hadn't. And feeling that imposter syndrome and feeling sort of outside of the what the typical Osgoode student was, meeting a bunch of people who looked like me, who had gone through a lot of the same lived experiences as I, and who were in the same space as I was, helped build a community and helped me feel like I did belong in that space, and I did belong at that law school. So when I did get to meet a lot of these people, and we joined the Osgoode BLSA chapter, it really made me feel at home, and it's a supportive community that will help you through law school, because law school will throw a lot at you, and having that supportive group, that backbone, can make all the difference through your law school experience.
Absolutely. So I definitely agree with Mihir. I think being one of the reasons why I applied to Osgoode, getting to join the BLSA chapter at Osgoode was like, I think the perfect situation for me in terms of getting support, bonding with a group of friends that could carry me through midterms, exams, and just I think support each other like spiritually, emotionally as well. We started actually an annual retreat in fall 2019. So just going on that retreat and being together with most of our chapter and getting to learn about each other more, talk about things like imposter syndrome, mental health, that the institution may not exactly always have programming for, have opportunities to discuss. So it was great being able to establish that support system and have that stability in otherwise definitely busy time of the year. So yeah.
Awesome. So how do you see BLSA, how has BLSA, and this is the final question, how has BLSA helped you up to this point nationally in terms of awareness for your career, probably what options you may choose, and how do you hope it could help you moving forward?
Yeah. I think up until this point, BLSA Canada has helped me so BLSA, the Osgoode chapter, helped me situate myself within the law school environment. So that the national organization is what's helping me see myself in the legal practice setting. So it's giving me access to all the powerful Black women that we see. So I aspired to work on Bay Street, and so that has mainly been my mentorship base from the BLSA Canada group of lawyers, and they've really taught me things that I never would have thought about, like the difference between having a mentor and having a sponsor, and the types of things you want to do when you go into a firm and how they shape their career, the things that they've had to overcome. And I don't think that, of course, in a student organization within Osgoode, you wouldn't be able to have that reach unless you had sort of the larger organization, having access to conferences like the one we're at this weekend, and getting to hear from these women that are in the industry, at least for myself, and hear about the struggles they've had and how they've overcome that. So getting access to mentorship has really helped me. And in the future, I hope to give back and attend events like these and talk about my experiences, how my mentors helped me, and then how I'm starting to help students that are coming up, prospective students, law students, and articling students, the whole array. So I hope to give back as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to go off of what Summer was saying, I think what BLSA Canada has been able to do through hosting these annual conferences and have these workshops and all these powerful and inspirational people come and speak to us and show us what you can do with your JD degree has been really important and meaningful to me. Like I said, I think I applied to law school with a good understanding of why I wanted to go to law school, and BLSA Canada has really showed me how. So how do you interpret, or how do you apply all those desires that made you want to be a lawyer and to your career, and what career paths would be best for suiting your desires in going to law school to begin with. So having all these great speakers from different fields of law has been really meaningful, and its importance can't be understated.
Awesome. I want to thank you both for being here, and we're very excited. And for the prospective viewers that may be interested in applying, is there any way that they can reach you, and are you accessible to hear their questions or review their personal statements?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that Osgoode BLSA chapter tries to do a lot is ensure that prospective students do have contacts within Osgoode, especially with the BLSA chapter. So we're definitely accessible.
And where can they reach you personally? Yeah.
You can feel free to reach out to me by email. My email is mahir, mahir.mohammed, mohamed, @live.ca.
Yeah, and I'm accessible via LinkedIn, just Summer Lewis, or email summ.lewis, lewis, @gmail.com.
Awesome. I want to thank you both for coming, and hopefully whoever's watching this video will end up being your colleagues very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.